Welcome to the Art of Questioning. Now, I know that originally when you signed up, it said that it would be led by myself and Mr. Ray Berger. Ray is unable to be here today because he is in the process of helping his wife aid the delivery of their child. She was induced this morning.
Oh, she was?
Yes. So, and for whatever reason, he felt really bad about not being able to be here today. Ray.
Oh my God.
It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Be with the baby.
He's that.
did you already start?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Blanc. So today we're going to talk about questioning and effective ways of using questioning in your classroom. Would somebody please read our uplift mission?
To create and sustain public schools of excellence that empower each student to reach their highest potential in college and the global marketplace, and which inspire a lifelong love of learning, achievement, and service in order to positively change their world.
Excellent. And would somebody please read our 4 core values?
Rise together, inspire innovation, scholars first, and elevate expectations.
So today we're going to be really focused in on that elevating expectations, that the way we use questioning in our classroom will get better and achieve the desired results of making our students more inquiry-minded. So our agenda up here today, start with purpose. Why does questioning matter? Talk about the planning process. We're going to a little bit of strategies and common traps that are very easy to fall into for questioning, some examples for the content areas, and then we're going to look at the do's and the don'ts of questioning. Before we get started, I'm going to play a video. If you have not seen this, it is hysterical, but even if you have seen it, it bears another watching. I believe Mr. Springer learned how to teach history from watching this example.
This is not funny. All right, now settle down, settle down. I've graded your test, and I have to say, I am more than a little bit disappointed. In fact, I've decided I'm going to throw them all out.
All right! Oh, man.
I think I've been placing too much emphasis on details. What I want to do now is I want you to forget about memorizing dates. I want you to think history, okay? We're just going to make each other think, okay? Now, is everybody with me on this? All right, good. Let's talk about the Battle of Britain and the Lend-Lease Act. How are these two events linked in history? Anybody got any thoughts? Sabrina?
So, the test that you threw out, that's not going to count?
No. Everybody got that? All right, now back to the Battle of Britain and the Lend-Lease Act. Roosevelt said that America must be the great arsenal of democracy. And what did he mean by that? We must be the great arsenal. What does he mean? Randy?
That we had to be, this big arsenal.
Arsenal, with an L.
Oh, yeah, right. That we needed to be, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay, maybe that wasn't a fair question. All right. Now, what country did Roosevelt want to supply with weapons? Who can tell me? What country? Remember, we're talking about the Battle of what? Who can tell me? Lisa.
Britain?
Yes, good. You see, now we're thinking history.
Mr. Thompson, I was about to say Britain.
That's good. So Roosevelt wants to help Britain in the war against who? Who is Britain at war with? Who can tell me? Okay, let's think now. What was happening in Europe in the 1930s? Darlene?
I thought you said that we weren't going to have to know dates.
Let me put it another way. In the decade before World War II, what was happening in Europe?
France?
Yeah, France. But let's think, what political group was in Europe at the time?
The French?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson, the French are still in Europe today.
Let's just get off the French for a while, okay?
Okay, sure.
No, I'm sorry. I was just, Larry, making a point. There are French people in Europe, like Larry said, even today. You don't have to write that down. It's not going to be on a test. All right, let's think about some of the other countries in Europe. Now, name some of the other countries in Europe besides France. Let's look at the map up here. Okay, now where's Europe on the map? Anyone? Where's Europe? Is this Europe? Here? How many of you think this is Europe? Right there. Show of hands. Think this is Europe? You're right, that is Europe. All right, good. Now, what are some of the countries in Europe?
Spain?
Uh-huh. Good. Anybody else?
France?
Yes. Can someone name another?
Germany.
Yes, Germany. Yes, very good. Let's talk about Germany.
Sweden?
Right, but let's stick with Germany for a second. Yeah, let's just go back to Germany, all right? Now, what political group was in power in Germany at this time? Somebody want to take this one? Larry? Randy? Who haven't we heard from? How many of you saw Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I have it on tape. I can bring it in.
No. Now, who in the movie was Indiana Jones fighting besides the snakes? He was fighting the Okay. So what did the Nazis do? Let's think.
Oh, they tried to steal that lost ark and then all their faces melted at the end.
They put up the Berlin Wall?
Oh, that's right.
No, they didn't put up the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
Are you sure? Because I think that they did.
You're thinking of the communists. That was 1961.
Mr. Thompson, I thought that you said that we weren't going to have to know dates.
I'm sorry. I forgot. All right. Now, the Nazis were in power in Germany. So who was England at war with during the Battle of Britain? And don't say France. Who can tell me? Not France, but... Take a guess.
Germany?
Yes!
Germany? Because I was about to say Germany.
I got a question. Who came up with that name? Europe.
You know, I think we've done enough today. Let's just, let's read quietly. For the rest of the period, just everybody, read at your desk. Everybody, just read that. Yeah.
We never did get to find out what that guy Roosevelt meant by the Great Arsenio.
It doesn't matter. In fact, why don't you bring in your copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark tomorrow?
So, show of hands. How many of us have had classes just like this? And how many of you were watching each of these kids go and naming your own students that for the? Oh yeah. Now there's a lot of things that he does wrong. There are quite a number of things that he does right. But why are we here today? To focus on the things that we know are good practices in class, good questioning, and to avoid the pitfalls of what good questioning is not. So, we're going to start by talking about planning. Now, if you have spent more than 5 minutes with me, you know how much I love planning. But it's not the planning that I dislike as much as the template seems to be very difficult for my brain to really understand what I'm supposed to put where. The unit planning, however, is very easy for me. The template is good for my brain. And where questioning is concerned, it divides it up into those lower level questions, those middle of the way questions, and then the really higher level questioning that you want to get to, that your assessments are going to really hone in on. So that part I do like. When thinking about your questions, you need to consider the following. What do you want them to accomplish by year end? For the individual day, what do they have to know before they walk out of your room? Those are the two thoughts that need to be guiding you as you're making your questions. So for example, by the end of the year, I need them to understand that physical geography drives human geography. I need them to understand that everything is connected. And the bottom line is so that whatever is going on anywhere in the world, that they should not only be aware of it, understand it, but that they care about what is going on in the world. These are my big picture conceptual year-end goals. Always drive my questioning. My big higher level questions for each unit are going to align to these big ideas. Now, as far as skills are concerned, they need to know visual analysis. In other words, can they look at a map? A political cartoon? I had art stuck in my brain. Political cartoons, art analysis. They need to be able to visually analyze those things. They need to be able to think critically. So whatever is going on, whatever current issues, they need to be able to think about those things. Sequencing, which includes a lot of different skills, but timeline analysis is a big, huge idea. They need to be able to pose an argument. And whatever it is that we're talking about at the time, being able to think through potential solutions. These are the skills that drive my questioning. Building their own personal character. Need them to be an active participant. Want to develop their very natural, well, not always develop it, but be able to focus their very innate curiosity. Be able to ask their own questions, become these inquirers that IB wants us to develop. And with the end goal to be able to hold a Socratic seminar. Huge goal. Again, and Socratic seminars are all about asking questions. They need to be able to come up with their own questions. So in what they must understand before they leave the room, well, that depends on what they already know. That depends on the scaffold. So a scaffolded set of questions for a particular class. This was on our first unit of the year, physical geography. We had to have a whole lot of lower level questions. What is a revolution? What is a rotation? What are the named lines on a globe? Very basic. For an ELA class, that might be basic grammar rules. For a math class, that might be different formulas that they just have to know. You have to memorize these things. But then applying that knowledge, what is the impact of the tilt of the Earth? Well, everything. Every bit of life that we know is a direct result of that tilt of the Earth. So an evaluation, and this was the question that I asked on their unit exam, what if the tilt didn't exist? That's how I would use my goals. That's how I would use, especially, how are things connected with that lower level? This is how I would apply those things in one of my units. Okay, so that's how I plan my questions. I don't know what teaching sophomores, juniors, and seniors are like, since I have some sophomores I know. But for freshmen, you can put all the time in the world into planning your questions. They come up with their own. And it may or may not be related to whatever it is that you're intending on talking about that day. For freshmen, you might not ever be able to determine how they came up with that question. So, with all the planning in the world, things are going to go wrong. Okay, no problem. So, common problems, in practice, what are some of these problems going to look like? Well, common trap. You ask a question, crickets. and you start to panic because it never fails. Somebody's going to be in the room watching you at the worst possible. Wait a second. Okay, I've asked a question. Nobody knows the answer, and the answer is I'm getting it wrong. So you start dialing it back a little bit. All right, maybe I asked too complicated of a question. So I'm going to start backtracking, and they don't get those questions either, and then all of a sudden everybody in the room is panicking, so you give them the answer and you move on. It happens, no problem. Or you get off track. They give you an answer, and it's kinda what you were looking for. So, but that, takes you down a whole rabbit hole, and before you know it, you have discussed everything in the world except for what you were supposed to be talking about that day. Well, if I give them the right answer, they'll know. So when it comes time for the test, they'll know what the right answer is, right? So it's okay to give them the correct answer. When is it okay to give them the answer to your question? See that cricket moment? Happens all the time. When is it okay to give them the correct answer to a question that you posed? Yes, ma'am, Miss Rutland.
Maybe after they've exhausted other sources, so looking in books or talking to peers.
Okay, other ideas on when it might be okay to give the correct answer? Mr. Davis.
When they put enough work in to justify their effort.
When they put enough work in to justify their answer.
It's
So,
a little vague, but yeah.
well, let me see if I heard you correctly. They give an answer which is wrong, but you ask them to justify it, and they do a good job of justifying their answer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one.
Okay, so agree, disagree. Is that when it's okay to give the correct answer? Ms. Gonzalez, laughter.
Miss Rodriguez.
Well, I was not anywhere near close. They ended in the same syllable. So, and that always trips me up, and I hope you can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, see the
Yes,
ADD
yes.
brains, we
Yes,
get
yes.
each other. So Ms. says,
When they do not know the correct answer.
when they don't know the correct answer, it's okay to give them the correct answer. Mr. McGowan, agree or disagree? You don't know?
Please, feel it.
When you feel that it's okay time? Mr. Morales, you had a hand up.
Yeah, I can usually start with the answer in math and have them prove as to how do you come about it getting that answer. At least it gives them a goal to stretch for it, to reach out for it. And well, that's what she's aiming at, that's what he's after. Now, how do I get there? Does it take this? Or how many steps will it take me to get this? Or once I get there, can I verify, can I prove it with a different means, either in mathematics by using technology, or can it be graphed, or could I explain it to the rest of the class as to how I got there, or can it move into another problem? That's the way that I usually work from the answers.
No, that's the perfect response. The correct answer is, the only time you should ever give the correct answer is when you intend on following that up with a justification process. Otherwise, they will not remember the correct answer. They do remember an awkward silence. They do remember a struggle. Struggles are great. Silence is great. And again, like for debriefing on a test, you're going to give them back their test. They know what the correct answer is, the task. Tell me why the correct answer is the correct answer. It is great for the brain. It's the only time. So what, okay, some examples of what not to do. What are some strategies that work effectively? Well, when I first came to Peak, there was a big, huge push, there it is, for everybody to read Teach Like a Champion. For those of you who do not have your own copy, for these 3 techniques, we can get you a copy of the book. Right is Right, Stretch It, and No Opt Out were techniques that we were grilled in from summer PD throughout the next couple of years. And so since I was a brand new teacher, hey, this will work. Right is right. An almost right answer is never okay. You do not ever move on until you get the actual correct answer. The stretch it, do they get the right answer? Have them elaborate. Really gets those synapses snapping. And then the no opt out. I don't know is never okay. Silence is okay. In fact, it's critical. Yeah, when there are people watching you and you're asking a question and nobody's answering, it is so easy to panic. In fact, the last time I've got observed, I don't know who the people were that were observing me, but it just so happened to be the homecoming day where I was dressed like ghetto Princess Leia. Of course, that would be the day that I get observed. And we had the previous class period talked about pop culture. What a great day to be dressed as ghetto Princess Leia. So as they come in the door, you know, I still had the ear things on the honey buns. Oh, Miss Cass, you look just so funny today. It was just so awesome. Who are you? I was crushed. Only a few of them knew who I was. Perfect lead into a first focus. I had observers. I wasn't real thrilled about the fact that they came to observe me when I was looking unprofessional. Whatever, I'll go with it. Start asking the questions during the early part of the class, you know, playfully chastise them for not knowing the Star Wars reference. Started asking my questions of what element of culture, what type of culture am I exhibiting? Crickets. Great. So, as you're supposed to do in your questioning, if they don't know the question, you dial it back. Okay? What is the big category that we have been discussing of late? Somebody timidly, culture? Yes, excellent, culture. What is culture? Crickets. Crap. This is a basic, very basic concept in geography. What is culture? And it took what appeared in my brain, my perception, to be an hour and a half of just trying to clarify what culture is. We get through this early part, it's very awkward, we get ready to sit down and to do some work, and the guys leave. Great! They're in my room for a limited amount of time and they see the worst part of the teaching that I could possibly show them. The only feedback that I got was, number one, you're insane. Yeah, okay. Number two, great class. That must be a great class. From failed questions, but their feedback was, you made them work through it. They got to the right answer. You made them think. Yes, I had a panic attack in the process, but they did think. Okay, fine. Fine. Silence is okay. Struggling is a great place for a brain to be. I don't know is never okay. The first time you accept I don't know as an answer, everybody who does not feel like participating thereafter, I don't know. They might know the right answer. No, I don't want to appear fill in the blank to my peers. I don't know. I don't feel like it. If you legitimately think they don't know, fine. Dial it back. Get them to where they need to be. Use that scaffold. Go back as far as you need to where they do know the answer, and then walk them through the process. I have spent 5, sometimes as much as 10 minutes walking a single kid through that process, through the scaffold, dialing it back where he is, getting him where I need to be. And it's worth it because it sticks. It's awkward, and they remember that. Struggling is a good thing. I always high-five them when we're done. Always thank them for working through it with me, but that is a great technique. If they need help, fine, let them phone a friend and then come back to them when they hear the correct answer. If you find out that multiple people in the room do not know the answer to the question, great reteaching moment. If, however, on the other hand, they just look to be having a bad day and are very belligerently insisting on their I don't know, fine, let it go. We'll talk during lunch. Sometimes that might prompt them to, oh, wait a second, I know the answer. Maybe you still want to have that lunch conversation. You know, maybe after school would be better. If they legitimately don't know and you want to talk to them afterwards for a small study group, excellent reteaching time. If there's something else going on, this, adamant I don't know may be a sign of something else going on completely unrelated to your classroom, gives you an opportunity to have a great conversation. I don't know is never an okay response. One of my favorite phrases to use. That is an excellent wrong answer. Talk me through how you came to that answer. And we'll start reasoning through it. It's great. Getting other people in the classroom to chime in on why that is wrong. Making them go through that justification process. Elaborates the conversation. They start getting a lot comfortable on giving a potentially wrong answer. For classes that nobody wants to talk, instead of asking a question and that you want the right answer, no, I need some good wrong answers, let's go. Why do we go through this? Well, we're modeling for them what good questions look like. The goal is to get to a point in the classroom where you are simply a facilitator of your classroom. They become the ones asking the questions. And they've had a good model for what good questioning looks like. You want them to be able to eventually lead their own discussions while making sure that it stays on track. Because, they can go down a rabbit hill faster than rabbit hole. And before you know it, you started out the class talking about Earths and relationships. You end the class talking about Batman or Superman. So the goal is to have that stay on track. You know they will. Oh yeah. So how do you tackle this? Make a goal of talking to everyone. In the course of a classroom, course of the week, depending on what is going on in your classroom, make a point to talk to everybody. Not just the kid acting a fool, looking like one of those blow-up people on the side of the road that the arms are going everywhere. Everybody. And there have been plenty of times that I have resorted to my sticky notes to the kid who wants to answer every question. That you have a conversation, Miss, why don't you like me? You never call on me. I do, I just stopped calling you after the 5th time. Here, write your question down on your sticky note. Making sure that you talk to everybody. Everybody's voice counts. Everybody's thoughts counts. Very, very, very critical. Mr. Berger and I both ask these questions all the time. Why do you think I'm asking you this question? What possible result am I looking for? Why are you doing this assignment? How is this tied to everything? What is the point? Why should you care? Why do I care so much? Because the end game is everybody in your classroom participates. Everybody feels valued. This curiosity that our kids have anyway, getting them to really investigate that time. And so by the end of the class year, you're just facilitating. Giving them kind of the big idea, and together you get there. So, what does this look like in different classes? Well, science. Lower level questions. How many bones are there? What's the temperature of the body? Next level. Why do feet have so many tiny little bones, even though they are arguably used more than anywhere else? Would it be, higher level questions, would it be better if we didn't have pain? What would be the impact if the temperature of the body were 1 or 2 degrees different? ELA. What are the symbols used in The Great Gatsby? Higher level. What does the green line represent? And, I mean, fill in any content, anything that you are working on. Math. What are irrational numbers? Now, I am very proud of this particular example, so because Miss Washington was working with me on this one, and when she posed this question, gave me this example, what are irrational numbers? Mr. Berger and I looked at each other and went, numbers that don't make sense? And then she showed us this thing, you know, basically, what do these things have in common? What defines these two categories? Math people, after struggling for a minute or two, I got the right answer. I'm just saying. Now, I didn't call them irrational numbers. I said, oh, this in this category, it's the ones that when you divide them, they just go on forever. The repeating thing. She looked at me, and you know how Remy can. Oh, bless your heart, you're so stupid. But you don't feel stupid? She's great at that. Yes, Lori, those are called irrational. Oh, please don't correct it. Please, just go. I said, please don't tell me how stupid I really am, because I think we all know.
No. It's on the word being irrational, which kind of leads on to the thing about being rational, and the whole thing about, well, if you hear silence, that means that you can't hear them think, or are they thinking rationally or irrationally? So silence has to be quiet until you start probing them. Response time by giving them an idea or feeding them an idea or an open-ended question or your Bloom's taxonomy questions that you want a response to, that you just kind of lead them on to, you facilitate them.
That's exactly right. And this would be one of those things that if they do not get the answer to that question very quickly at all, like Mr. Berger and I, that's exactly, you start scaffold. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then that evaluation, how can, you know, art. What is value? Next, oh, sorry. What is the element most prominently expressed in Guernica? Now, on second thought, you wouldn't want to start with what is value because you just answered your own question. Flip this and then, you know, justifying how this is value. So asking the question, how would the painting be different if value were eliminated from this painting? These are all, now I'm going to fast forward because in the little bit of time remaining, what I want you to do in the paper that I've passed you out, you will need writing things. This video is really, really good stuff. Yes, it's funny. But what I want us to draw a line down the middle. You're going to have a T-chart, do's and don'ts, glows and grows, whatever. What I want you to do while going through this, and probably not watch the entire thing so that we finish on time. What does Seinfeld do? I gave her an extra one.
No. On this film right here, do you want it literally or figuratively speaking?
Either way.
Because if you're doing literally, the actors right there do have a script and they did become actors and they got quite a salary because I recognize some of those characters there by names and stuff like that. And then the classroom, that actually looks like Woodrow Wilson High School, the facade there. Because actually in a classroom right there, you do not have 12 students. You either, like I've been at Woodrow, you have 35 or 32 students within one of those small classrooms. The reality of it or the imagination?
The imagination. So if this were a real classroom, what does he do that is good? What does he do that is not so good? The things that we've been talking about. What do you see that you know is not right to do in a classroom? What are some of the things he does that are correct? Oops, wrong button.
This is not funny. All right, let's settle down, settle down.
Asterisk forms, you know you've
I
done.
have to say, I am more than a little bit disappointed. In fact, I've decided I'm gonna throw them all out.
All right.
Don't ever throw a test out. Ever.
I think I've been placing too much emphasis on details. What I want to do now is I want you to forget about memorizing dates. I want you to think history, okay? We're just gonna make each other think, okay? Now, is everybody with me on this? All right, good. Let's talk about the Battle of Britain and the Lend-Lease Act. How are these two events linked in history? Anybody got any thoughts? Sabrina?
So, the test that you threw.
Or just the kids.
He does a great job of encouraging kids. Agreed. Yes, ma'am.
He's cold calling students, so everybody has to pay attention.
Okay. What else?
Positive reinforcement.
Yep. Thank you for Sima.
He's respectful, he doesn't make anybody feel small or stupid.
Yes, ma'am.
Gives good wait time?
Does he always give good wait time?
Sometimes.
So let's look at some grows. What could he do better? Yes, ma'am.
Besides not giving more wait time, the student gives a blatantly wrong answer and just goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that the student gave a blatantly wrong
Miss Knight.
He's asking questions that only require a one-word answer.
Oh, yeah. His questions are yes or no answers. You know, he doesn't wait for the right answer. So is this Europe? There's only two answers to that question. Yeah, and he does quite a lot of that. Now, if you're looking at lower level questions and you're checking that prior learning, what continent are we talking about? Europe? Yes, that's the correct answer. A better answer would be the continent that is the stage of World War II is Europe. You know, complete sentences, always better. But the answer is still a one-word answer. Other things that he does not do well, Mr. Frazier.
The way he scaffolds is backwards. So he should start with the lower level questioning that he ends the segment with, and then end with the question that he tried to start with. And then he completely got away from those questions, so the whole meaning of what he was trying to get is gone.
Right, and what I love about what you guys are doing is you're answering the questions and then providing a solution on what would have been better, how to fix this situation. Excellent. Other things that he has not done as correct as we know we should. Now, Ms. Knight, you've checked off your quota of 3 answers for the day. I have not heard from, I heard from Mr. Fountain today.
No.
Mr. Fountain, what do you think?
You shouldn't have thrown out the test.
You never, ever throw out a test. Why do you never, ever throw out a test?
Minimize the importance of testing.
You minimize the importance of testing. What else do you do? Sorry, I thought your mouth was getting ready to form.
Why should a student trust you if you give a test and then throw it away? You've got to have higher expectations than that.
Absolutely. Miss Connolly, if you are a student in my classroom and I throw out a test, what are you going to do the next time there's a test?
It's not study.
Why will you not study?
Because it'll be thrown out.
I'm sorry, I was asking Miss Connolly.
Sorry.
Because it'll be thrown out anyway.
But why should I care? It's going to be thrown out anyway. Other examples of, now if we didn't get through the whole thing, so if you remember things from the first time we watched this, what are, this will be the last question since we're done, Mr. Durfus.
Well, one thing that he tried to do is he tried to probe with questions, but I mean, they were so surface and they were so basic. And he just was kind of like, oh, what, yeah, but he didn't give really any sort of context to remember when we had a discussion, remember when Lori maybe said something, remember when so-and-so did that. You know, we didn't really reference much that we did in the past.
Right.
That end bit with the just read, If he'd given them, I mean, I get that, but if he'd said, just read, at the end of this, I'm gonna be asking you these 3 questions, so read that and then I'll get back to you, you know, I
Right.
think there has to be a purpose or you've lost everything.
Wholeheartedly agree, Mr. Morales.
Yeah, and the whole mood or the setting of the classroom was right at the beginning. He was negative. Right at the
Yes!
bat.
Yeah, low expectations.
That's not funny. You know, as they're walking in the door. And then as soon as they sit down, more or less, y'all are terrible students and here's why. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you guys. If you want any of the information, if you want, especially more about the no opt-out, right is right, stretch it, whatever. There are a lot of teachers, if we have been here 5 years or more, we have a copy of this book, so ask any of us to borrow it. Yes, Miss, never read it to begin with?
No.
That's what I heard her say, sorry.
Call her out.
I have 4 copies of that.
We've got extra copies. They really are good, effective
Library will.
practices. Thank you, everyone. Sorry I ran too long. We didn't get to watch the whole video and discuss it, but that's kind of what I do.
I thought that was encouraging to realize that you can take this career and move into comedy writing.
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes, and anybody ever sat in on a Springer class? And I will tell a very quick story because he's not here to defend himself. My first year, the second part, I shared a classroom with Mr. Pearson. I can't tell you how many times he did the nah. And the whole class is going.
Oh, no.
And I had seen this, fell out of my desk laughing. It was great. Anyway, thank you. Have a lovely rest of the day.